Welcome to the Trek Wars podcast, the internet's exclusive outlet to answer the one question, the most important question in fandom: which is better, Star Wars or Star Trek? I am Kenny Madison, the Star Trek contingent. With me, as per always, is the co-host with the Mo-host.
Is me, Aspen Webster. What is Mo-host? What is that?
You are the most host.
Most
co-host.
Most co-host. Mo-host. Most. So yeah, because you can't you can't portmanteau it because it was just most co-host most. It would just become, might be a coast? Coast.
No, you can't be a coast because this is far too close to ghost, which is what we are talking about today.
What?
As we discuss in the Children's Shower League.
Oh my god, this was like, did I watch the wrong episode again?
Negative. Children's Shower League from Star Trek The Original Series, Season 3 versus Destroy Malevolence, the end of the 3-part Malevolence arc on Star Wars, The Clone Wars Season 1. Aspen, how are we doing today? Peachy Keen?
I'm great. I'm sorry. I promise I'll stop yawning. It has nothing to do with you or how interested I am in any of these things. It just has to do with the fact that I didn't get 10 hours of sleep like some people.
Aspen is referring to me, where I am now starting to get a solid 10 hours of sleep every night.
Which I'm not jealous. I love this for you. I love everything about this path for you. Just a little sleepy. Just a little sleepy baby. Just a little num num num.
I've been having some extremely foul sleep habits recently, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's good.
Consistent sleep habits. But you know who's not falling asleep during this podcast?
Dave Filoni.
No, our listeners.
Oh, what if he were listening? He's got his little hat on, and he's just like, I really love this podcast.
I hope so. Does Filoni must like Star Trek?
I'm sure he does.
Because he just seems like a guy who likes things.
He's a dude who just seems lovely. Just seems to like creative stuff, mm-hmm. You know. I dictated. I've been watching a bunch of the featurettes, so now I know where you get all your information from.
Excellent.
I know where your secrets lie. I was like rewatching them. I was just like, wait a second, that's where Kenny got all his information. All of it.
Sure.
So I took notes on the featurette so I could get to them first.
Thank you.
And what I've learned about Dave Filoni is that he just seems like the sweetest man with the sweetest little hat, who he and his brother seem to really get along. And they loved Star Wars when they were young.
His brother?
He talks about his brother a few minutes. We'll get into it when we talk about some background and fun stuff, because what did I do? Research. I did research. And by research, I mean I watched a featurette.
Well, we do have some correspondence.
I was like, wait, sorry, what was where were we at? Got us off track. Got really excited.
We have some correspondence from some listeners.
Oh, beautiful.
Arizona Mark from the Patreon.
Yes,
writes
sir.
in.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of loving things, Mark, in our Shadow of Malevolence versus the Paradise Syndrome, I believe, our pre-show chat, Mark loved The Fall Guy and very bummed it didn't do well in its opening weekend. Parentheses, have seen the movie twice now.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Mark's really good at seeing movies.
Mark is extremely good at seeing movies. I'm following him on social media, and he's watching all of the Spider-Man movies on Spider Mondays.
Oh,
and that has been fun, even though he did have to watch the abysmal Amazing Spider-Man 2. Truly a bad movie. Also, Mark writes in the Star Wars The Clone Wars film versus Assignment Earth episode that Mark did not realize that he was older than me, Kenny.
Oh, yeah?
I am a robust 35 years old.
Yeah.
And finally, from Arizona Mark, he writes, now I'm wondering if Kenny listens to any of my podcasts.
Uh-oh.
Austin Aaron writes it. I do listen, but only occasionally because I'm so far behind in my podcasts. Austin Aaron writes us in via email.
Via email?
Via email.
I love it when people send us emails.
People can write us emails, of course, at trekwarspod@gmail.com. And the subject line is art is a binary, but not a one-to-one mapping.
Okay.
The correspondence begins, hey, Roger, because I'm certain that Aaron has gotten my last name wrong.
No, it's
confusing me with my duo, Kenny Rogers.
Yes, your girlfriend's last name. Which is actually kind of cute. Like, I guess Rochester is my couple name with Heidi.
Yes, that's right. Which is unfortunate because they call me Kenny Rogers. So what does that make Heidi?
Heidi, nope, definitely not your last name. She'd be mad. Just anyways, Heidi, just like mononym.
Yeah.
No, we'll stop giving you shit. It's cute. Thank you, Aaron. It's very cute.
Hey, Rochester. First, I'm sending good vibes and reverses in polarity to heal Aspen of her coronal infection.
So nice. So nice. I am healed. He did it. That's why I got better so fast.
Do you remember how there was a Mon Calamari Jedi apprentice in the Jedi Academy books named Silhal? And that she was great at healing using the Force? I'm sending her too. It's a deep cut.
I didn't know that.
We might have to have Austin Aaron on the podcast in order to talk about literature.
100%. Like, the only kind of younglings, like Jedi Padawans I know of are going to come from Clone Wars, or like any of these properties specifically. And there's going to be some episodes where it's like very specifically, it's like how we find the Kyber crystals, how we build our lightsabers and stuff, which is very cool. But no, I'm not familiar with that one. I love a Mon Calamari.
But the letter goes on still.
Oh, so sorry.
Second, I'm noticing that you are comparing single episodes of Clone Wars to single TOS episodes. This feels unfair. Maybe you could review each series per story, as Clone Wars often does 2 or 3 episode arcs, and that's closer to the 44-minute runtime of TOS.
Interesting.
Disagree.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, obviously I'm going to disagree because it should be 1-to-1 episode, and, if they wanted the story to be a different way, they could have made it longer.
Oh.
But instead, George Lucas, because he commissioned the 100 episodes to do it.
True.
And so he made them 22 minutes long, or as they are, I think, on streaming or the Blu-rays, which I own. They have director's editions that are longer and have more scenes.
Ah. I'm interested in it's fascinating because I wonder if this came up because a note that you said, which was, I wish that we had more to talk about, maybe in terms of like themes within some of these Clone Wars episodes.
I mean, I'm certain that that's because we're still in palette setting and the complexities will come as the seasons progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be, and I can tell you this for sure. I mean, there's plenty of just like fun episodes. No. I mean, we have a fun structure.
What do you think of this notion? Do you agree with Austin Aaron? Be honest now.
No.
No?
I mean,
I understand the notion because I think, and Austin Aaron can write back in at trekwarspod@gmail.com.
Well, we should just invite him in now to litigate it.
Sure. That it's story versus story.
Right.
Because the Malevolence 3-parter is one story, even though it's not. It's 3 stories with 3 different protagonists.
Yeah.
But it's the Malevolence arc versus, I'm assuming, And the Children Shall Lead, which is, of course, a perfect episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, famously, everybody. Did you know I started watching it knowing nothing about what people thought about it?
And the Children Shall Lead?
Yep. And also Spock's Brain. Both of those episodes, I was just like, deep, 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 deep. Actually, it might not be true about Spock's Brain. Maybe I did know. But this one I for sure didn't know.
Yep. Anyways, the final piece of correspondence. Finally, who'd win in a battle of wits? R2-D2 or Commander Spock?
That is a really good battle.
It's a good battle.
It is good. I guess it depends on the kind of wit, because R2's wit is very little stinker. He's like gonna like his wit is actually, I think it's probably like less witty and more just like he's swearing a lot at you and telling you that like your mom is full of shit kind of thing.
R2 has it in him to quit. Spock does not.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the situation.
R2 could, hear me out,
Here we go.
just release a bunch of oil and then light Spock on fire.
There we go. I think that conclusively answers that question. R2D2, because Spock would live by a code of honor, and R2D2 plays to win. So glad, back to the letter, so glad clones count as real people, but definitely not for any particular reason related to myself, Austin Aaron.
What?
That seems ominous.
Oh, dude. That's great. I want more of that. No, part of me is like, I do appreciate the sentiment, but seems like extra work.
That's true. Put in a surprising amount of work for each episode.
No. Yeah, they're their own. I think from the beginning it's been like, well, listen, I mean, sometimes it doesn't quite make sense and it's our responsibility to try to like make it work.
Yes.
Because it's like, what was the intention of the thing? It was released as such. And it was released at one at a time. I guess maybe the difference is we did not do that with Clone Wars Tartakovsky, but that would have just been unreal to be like, we're doing 5 minutes versus like 40 minutes.
I would have done it, but also, would that be good?
Well, and also, no, it wouldn't have. And
I think we did it right.
But I think it also that one had been released like that way. So,
and then also, we got to start Clone Wars season 1 and season 3 of TOS at the same time.
Very
and that
nice.
has been lovely because the trajectories of both shows are going in very interesting places.
Yeah.
Speaking of very interesting places, Aspen.
Yeah.
For those that are playing the home game.
Yeah.
Joel.
Just to be clear, people who have not seen these episodes and are therefore are just by this definition sitting at home.
Yeah.
Not doing the work.
Trying to put their index fingers together and just kind of missing every single time.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, let's do some summaries.
Here we go.
So Clone Wars, Star Wars Clone Wars, Destroy Malevolence. 4th episode. It was released October 17th, 2008. What were you doing October 17th, 2008, Kenny?
October 17th, 2008. Honestly?
Yeah.
I might have been starting my improv career.
Wow, your career. Cool.
Yeah, what else do you call it?
Fun time.
Because I take it very seriously.
Okay. All right.
I did improv in New York once.
New York City.
Hey, 45th and 8th. Get a slice. Go take the water.
Oh, go find the Hudson.
Hey.
Oh.
Giuliani.
Rat. Seagull. The High Line. A rat on the High Line. Hipsters in Park Slope.
I saw Diane Keaton in Central Park.
Whoa!
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 Wow!
So you're a professional.
Yeah, professional.
October 17th, 2008 was right before the election that Obama won for the first time.
Thanks, Obama.
Remember that? Oh,
yeah.
What a time. Sorry, just as an aside. Sorry, I realize we're about to do important stuff. Don't cut this. This is important. So, last night for like the 8th or 9th time, 8th or ninth time I saw my favorite band, the Decemberists. And I love them. We saw them at Bass Concert Hall. And I was reminded, they always like come back. Their encores are always like a 20-minute song. Like they have a few that go for a long time where they like kind of drag it out, and it's wonderful. They played a new song this time, and it reminded me that in the one time I saw them in like 2008, 2009, the very end, they pulled out a cardboard cutout of Obama. But at the time, right, it was just like so exciting and so overwhelming. So he had like just been elected, and we were so happy. And that's what I was thinking about last night. Remember that? October 17th, 2008 was when this episode was aired. Don't you dare cut that.
Okay.
Okay? It's
Okay.
important context.
It's important context.
It's important context.
You're right.
Okay. Writer Stephen Melching. Director is Brian Callen. Brian Callen O'Connell is the director here.
Are those guys?
It's one man, Brian Callen O'Connell.
Stephen Melching is just kind of part of the Clone Wars brain trust, and the director is just I'm assuming just an animation guy.
What?
He's a guy.
Just a guy. Just a guy.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Keep going.
They're just guys. They're just guys. Listen, they're just guys. Here's the official description. Padme Amidala, that's right, my girl, and C-3PO are taken hostage by General Grievous, leaving, I know, right? They were tricked. She was told a lie, and she never once thought, I wonder if Palpatine's fucking with me. Mm-hmm. Leaving Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka to save the senator and complete the destruction of the Malevolence. I mean, she does, it's fine. Anakin and Obi-Wan chase down the Malevolence, hoping to destroy it before it can escape. But when Padme and C-3PO are captured and held hostage aboard, the Jedi are forced to hatch a new plan. Yay. That's what happens. It's actually great.
Speaking of what happens, And the Children Shall Lead, written by Edward J. Laxo, a first-time Star Trek writer, and directed by Marvin Chomsky, a first-time Star Trek director.
Oh.
From NBC press release issued September 10th, 1968. Children, appearing unconcerned at the death of their parents, are beamed aboard the USS Enterprise and begin taking over the minds of the crew as Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and Dr. McCoy attempt to battle an unseen force on NBC TV's Star Trek episode And the Children Shall Lead, Friday, October 11th. Melvin Belli, the prominent lawyer, making his acting debut as Gorgon, joins guest stars Craig Hundley and James Wellman, who portray children of the deceased adult colony on the planet Triacus in plotting to take over the universe. Gorgon appears only when summoned by the mysterious chant of the children, but exercises evil control over their minds. Now, Aspen, I see you doing the patented Aspen head tilt.
Melvin Belli is not an actor. He's a lawyer. Famously was called and had a letter written to him by the Zodiac Killer. Mm-hmm. What the fuck, my dude?
They specifically reference, in the film Zodiac, they specifically reference Melvin Belli's episode of Star Trek.
I know. This is how I found this out.
Yeah.
That is Brian Cox who played him in like the film. Yeah,
Who is a better actor than Melvin Belli.
Yeah, I can tell you that. I saw that when like looking him up, or I saw that in the trivia or something like that, and I was like, why is this actor associated with the Zodiac Killer? And it's because, oh no, he's a lawyer and he's just in this episode. So there's a lot of so that is 1 degree of separation, 2 degrees of separation between Martin Belli and Ted Cruz.
That is absolutely correct.
It's really wild. There's actually a few different actors in this. I kind of went down like a little rabbit hole. There's also Craig Huxley, who originally played a nephew in that earlier episode where we see his family
in Operation Annihilate.
Yeah. But then he went on to become like music department guy and was like a composer, and that's just very lovely for him.
Yes, not only that, but reading These Are the Voyages, TOS Season 3 by Mark Cushman.
Oh, is that a book that you read?
It is. It's a book that I read, yes.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Are you having a good time reading that book?
I really am single time.
Are you sure? Do you need to talk to someone?
No. Craig Huxley, or rather Craig Hundley.
Oh, right.
Was a music prodigy. And then there is a photo of the Craig Hundley Trio album that he put out in 1968. He had a jazz trio at the age that he filmed And the Children Shall Lead. Like, he was a honest to God piano prodigy.
Yeah.
Reading several reviews that are cited here in this book talking about him as being like an incredible virtuoso piano player. The only thing that's missing is like emotion behind it because he's mechanically perfect. But he just, like, he's 13. He doesn't have the emotional life behind it. So like that's so wild.
Yeah.
And also he acted on Star Trek twice. How wild.
Look at
Well,
that.
and also was an in-demand child actor as well.
An in-demand child.
Yeah.
You know what? He was great. I would say the kids in this episode, great.
Yeah.
I thought they were. Do you know who wasn't great in this episode?
Melvin Belli and also William Shatner. Kind of.
Yeah.
You can't say that Shatner's not committed, but
no. Well, I mean, we'll get into it. One of these episodes was fun and good, and one of these episodes was not fun and good.
Yeah.
Say primary takeaway on this one. And as we've reached the last episode of the Malevolence arc, what a great arc. What a good arc. Filled with interesting character moments. A lot of good child acting. Just kidding, there's no child actors in this episode. There's just a person, an adult playing a child. Thank you, Ashley Eckstein. And also, I guess at this point, NBC 3PO is also a child, like age-wise.
Yeah, you are correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Clones, age-wise.
There's a lot of children.
I mean, talking about the children will lead. Am I right? Am I right? Oh,
right.
Wow.
So you're saying that you liked to Destroy Malevolence?
Oh, I loved to Destroy Malevolence.
It's hot up.
Loved it. Like, I'm telling you, and the ways that I found And the Children Will Lead to be boring and strange and filling time in a way that made no sense to me, and strange, like Idiotball passing, just like the weirdest stuff. And the ways, and all the ways that I found it, that I found Destroy Malevolence to be, it's doing that thing where it like very specifically, like when people talk about being like, oh yeah, Clone Wars makes the prequels better, it's taking like quotes from the prequels or little things that you know about them and then making everything that much better.
Yep.
There's even like, there's a nod to the like, you know, the quote that everybody makes fun of, like when Anakin is like a little baby in Phantom Menace and gets into the Naboo fighter and is like, I'll try spinning. That's a neat trick.
That's a good trick.
That's a good trick. Like literally there is a line in this episode that's like spinning is
that,
yeah, he's like, spinning is not flying. He spins it, Anakin spins it, and Obi-Wan's like, spinning is not flying. And Anakin's like, but it's a good trick. And you're like, you just took the thing that is like kind of universally made fun of, right? And you just turned it into like a sweet ass exchange. And it does that the entire episode.
I think it delivers on the promise. This episode delivers on the promise that I think we thought we were going to get with the prequels, which is more Star Wars type adventures. Seeing Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme, we have our kind of Star Wars triumvirate of Luke, Han, and Leia, sort of, but different energies. And C-3PO and R2-D2, and Ahsoka's there too. You know,
yeah, just hanging out. Yeah,
and they're having they're having Star Wars type adventures, and they blow up they help destroy the Malevolence.
There's even a better version of the droid factory bit in Attack of the Clones, but this time it's with trains, and trains make everything better. Love trains. You know who else loves trains?
Yep.
Dave Filoni's brother.
Who is Dave Filoni's brother?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Dave Filoni just sometimes talks about his brother as if he has any role to play in this. And I think that's nice.
Yeah.
If I had a brother, I guess I'd talk about him. I'd be like, my brother likes Shark Week and blood in the water.
All right.
And this is an episode I made where sharks exist. That's what I do. I'd wear a hat.
Destroy Malevolence feels like a classic Star Wars adventure, which is wild.
Yeah.
It feels like Star Wars, and it's fun. There's jumping.
There's spinning.
General Grievous is there. There's fancy flying. I don't know what you want from me.
I want so much more.
Yeah.
I need you to tell me more.
I'm sure that we'll get there in the deep dive section. I don't know. It's fairly simplistic in terms of what the heck that it's doing, but I'm sure that whenever we sit down and dig out what the politics of this are, we'll find out.
Huh. Interesting. The politics.
I truly have, well,
huh?
I truly have no political viewpoints on this or what this episode is trying to say outside of let's just have a good rip-roaring adventure because we're still setting the palette.
I think that's true.
Thank you.
I think that, yeah, I think you're right. We're not quite, we're still in, there's a battle going on.
Which, to be fair, at this point, society has been irrevocably burned by the prequels.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
They have been declared by America the worst movies ever.
Come on, God. It's not
George
true.
Lucas has ruined their childhood.
Christ
but
almighty.
With far more potent language.
Yeah.
And so Filoni and team and George Lucas have to do damage control. And so they have to do a lot of damage control, and they do it quite well.
Yeah. Quite well.
Yeah.
They do. They get you back into it. We got commitment to the thing. We're doing a lot of, I think it's place setting. You're absolutely right. It's like we're regaining trust, doing, things that feel reminiscent. There's, man, look at me watching a featurette. They call out the fact that a lot of, the Star Wars films end in a very like picturesque way where you have a scene of, folks maybe standing in a group together, got like the view, and that's how these episodes have ended. And the end of this episode is literally the group of them, Padme, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and C-3PO and R2-D2 in the ship, like on the bridge of that ship. And that's like your last sort of shot, which is very deeply, it's definitely doing some heavy lifting to saying to you as a viewer, is giving you the visual cue that it's like, this is a Star Wars. This is it.
This is a Star Wars.
You are good. We got you. Didn't you just have the most fun?
Well, now that you bring that up, because clearly you watched the same featurette that I did.
You cannot take this from me. Some of us watch 5-minute videos too.
Because there's just not that much. I mean, if there was a Clone Wars companion, I would go buy it and be like, did you know this? Did you know this? Did you know
and I'd be
this?
like, oh, probably not. I will tell you, the way that I found out about it was Joel, my sweet, sweet partner. He came out and he goes, Aspen, do you know about the Filoni Zone? And I was like, what do you mean? What are you saying to me? And he wouldn't explain. He was just like, Google it. And I'm like, so I'm trying to Google Filoni Zone and nothing is coming up. And it becomes clear that he's talking about these featurettes. And I was just like, okay, I guess I don't know if it's like an official name or if someone just called it the Filoni Zone. But I do like it being called the Filoni Zone.
What is the Filoni Zone? It's just these featurettes?
It's these featurettes, yeah.
Who calls it that?
I don't know. But isn't that a fun name?
Yeah.
We can call it that.
Personally, I would call it the Filoni Zone just to make it rhyme a little
Filoni
bit.
Zone. Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
now that you're thinking about that, because pointing all the fingers and being like, look, Star Wars aesthetics.
Yes.
And I bent over backwards in our Star Wars special edition episodes and reminding folks during the prequel episodes is that George Lucas wanted to do the original Star Wars because he wanted to participate in aesthetics.
Sure.
Melding all of his favorite things into something so he could play that and then back into a story that happened to work. And now Dave Filoni is doing the same thing that George was doing with his influences. The difference here now is that Filoni is taking his influences, which are
Star Wars,
and synthesizing it into a new thing that is Star Wars.
Kenny, he and his brother used to watch Star Wars.
Who is this brother? You keep talking about this brother. You don't give him a name. I don't think he has a brother.
When he was talking about the Y-wing design and how they all got so excited when they were...
Sorry, the what?
The Y-wing?
Because
the
wing.
Where wing?
Because
wing. The Y-wing that,
because
they're the because wing, the Y because wing, the Porque no los dos wing is in A New Hope, but it's just far more beat up because you can assume that they were used in the Clone Wars, and that when it came time to use them and design them in the Clone Wars, they were so excited. Everyone was just like, "Fuck yes, this is the moment because this is the thing." And Filoni was just like, "Yeah, it's my brother and I." Again, his brother. He just mentions him. He doesn't name him. He's not involved in this process. He just talks about it. I was just like,
Filoni's brother.
With them growing up, that's a huge piece. And so it's being brought back for this show that they're making. And so, yeah, absolutely. All of this is like, it's, I was thinking about this a lot because of that, exactly what you were saying while you're looking at Dave Filoni's brother. Because we've talked about it too with other properties now in this new kind of Disney Star Wars universe.
There's nothing about his brother. Who's this brother?
Dude, it's just him. His brother, he just talks about his brother because he's like, I don't know.
There's got to be one publicity picture of Dave Filoni and his brother at some premiere. Instead, it's just hats. Nothing about Dave Filoni smiling in a hat.
Maybe there is no brother. Or maybe.
There's Dave Filoni and his wife, Dave Filoni and an Ahsoka cosplayer, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau.
Maybe his brother is like when someone still has like their twin kind of growing out of their body, and that's what's under the hat.
I don't think this brother exists. I think Aspen's making up this brother to have talking points.
Listen, I was like very specifically like, talked about your brother at least twice. Listen, I got plenty to talk about. What I was going to say was I was thinking about this of how we've talked about how it can be it's becoming at times a detriment to have fans of Star Wars make Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think we're talking about it.
Filoni needs to get out now and take a break and figure out, because he's been so interesting now that I'm thinking about it, because Lucas got stuck in the Star Wars machine mostly.
Yep.
Like he never directed anything until episode 1 again.
Mm-hmm.
He produced things. He got mired up in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, but he just kind of never. It
reminds me of.
He seemed like it got stuck in Star Wars, and Filoni, as the heir apparent, seems to just be stuck in Star Wars.
Yeah. And at this point, to be a Star Wars fan making Clone Wars is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes.
This is it. Like, it is clearly, and it's not just him. That's the thing. It's not just Dave Filoni. It's tons of other people.
Stephen Melching, Henry Gilroy,
Matthew Wood, voice of Grievous, and also sound department. Do you know how Matt Wood got the job of Grievous's voice?
He was there.
No. So I always thought that that's what it was. That it was just like, they were like, we'll just pull in this guy. He can do voices. But the story, according to Matthew Wood, is that they were looking for voice actors. He made a tape, but didn't put his name on it, mm-hmm. and like just put it out there to be used. And then who's the producer? Who's the prequels producer guy?
Rick McCallum.
Rick McCallum came up to him, and like I was just like, does anybody know this? Like, we're looking like this. We had like a tape, but we're looking for the agent of that person, and it was his tape. And so he was like genuinely chosen, and he was Matthew Wood. But I always thought that it was just like, I don't know how if I heard that story, heard a story, a separate story, if I created in my brain that like they were just like, well, I don't know, Matthew Wood can do shit. Let's just make him do a Grievous voice and do a cough, But nah, apparently. So anyway,
that's wild.
Yeah. But there are lots of the point. There are lots of people. It's not just Filoni on this, right? Obviously he's, the head of these things, but there's lots of people who are all coming into it with similar childhood experiences, different ones,
And they're
and
able to synthesize what that feeling of Star Wars is, and luckily Filoni's pretty darn good at it.
Yep, like truly understands the aesthetics. But here's the thing. Here's my argument. It's not just the aesthetics. Like, they're obviously capturing it, and he understands the visual language of it all. We get it. He's capturing the characterization as well.
He's also
Like,
he's rebooting the characters to feel like Star Wars.
the emotional connections, the specific characteristics. Like, what's the difference? That whole Red Letter Media thing with like Phantom Menace, where they're like, like
a superb exercise.
Yeah, we know they'll like describe the character. So describe like Padme Amidala without calling her a queen or a senator or something. Like, what are adjectives? If you think about her, in the prequels, it's a little harder. I could get someone, but if you think about her in this episode, what are the ones that come up for you from this episode?
Spunky, plucky, adventurous, bold,
brave, willing. Like, this is an adjective, but like selfless, maybe, like willing to sacrifice herself, like very white,
extremely white,
in love. Like, she is hot for Anakin.
In that very brief interchange where they are kissing on a train.
Oh my God. Like, these two characters in cartoon form have more chemistry than human.
Anakin Skywalker. Ornerous. Rascally.
Stinker.
Sincere. Loyal. Loving.
Desperate.
Yeah.
The desperate. It's coming from the desperation. Like, it's his like intensity because he loves so deeply. Yeah.
Obi-Wan. Honor.
Yeah.
Kind of a rascal whenever he gets put up against the wall. Brave.
Clever.
Smart.
Athletic.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Now, how would you describe Gorgon in The Children Shall Leave? Aspen, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Have you seen this episode before?
No, God, no.
Okay.
My dude.
And what's great, I believe you talked about this in the pre-show chats at patreon.com/TrekWarsPod. If you didn't already talk about it in the main episode. But you did not read, and you did not know the perception of this episode going in, so you got to watch this clean.
I watched it like a newborn baby coming into this world. Coming in to say, yeah, sure, this seems cool. And I'm going to tell you a secret, Kenny.
Here we go. Lean in.
For the first 10, 15, 20 minutes or so, I was like, this is a pretty good episode. Like, I find threatening children to be very interesting. Sure. Like, Lord of the Flies type shit.
It's such a good idea.
Yes.
Star Trek's done it twice.
Oh, what are the other ones?
Charlie X.
Right.
A great episode.
Yeah,
and
that's just one. And Miri.
A pretty good episode.
Miri's the one. Because, yeah, Charlie X is one guy, one kid. Miri, yeah. Yeah, right before. Well, at least in this one, Kirk wasn't like, this young child is almost a woman. So, woman. Which, I hate that. I was like, why did I hate Miri? That's why.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a creepy idea. I like that there are multiples of them. But you're right, it has been done. Like, Miri's a big one. Like,
and not only that, but like telepathic, telekinetic children.
Right, Charlie X, for sure. Maybe and if I had been thinking of those episodes, maybe I would have come in and be a little bit like, okay, been done before. But I was interested in the fact that
they've repeated episode premises so far. That's
sure.
I'm not sure, but that's not going to preclude me from liking a Star Trek episode.
Well,
I own multiple copies of Star Trek 5.
Oh my God. I can't wait to get to Star Trek 5 because it sounds awful, but
you're
you
gonna like it.
Love it.
You're going to like it. I think you're going to like it. It's a pretty chill hang.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like a chill hang. Like
I
right
think
now, we're doing a chill hang.
my controversial opinion, the original series movies are at worst good.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's outstanding franchise.
Yeah. Okay. Rad.
But you'll get to it later. Anyways, in the children shall lead. You're bopping along. You're digging the first 20
I am,
minutes.
because like those parents, all those adults die.
Yeah.
And you're
and
like,
you love dead parents.
I love it. Well, I thought it was like kind of like metal for it to be like, all these parents are fucking dead. How are they dead? Why are they dead? Did they just kill themselves?
So metal.
And these kids are like, boo, ring around the rosy.
That's metal as hell.
and McCoy is like, they have the kind of, they have basically like it's trauma amnesia, and they can't even grieve because they're like fucked up right now. And I was like, wow, we're going for it again. Dead parents is intense as shit.
It's pretty metal, yeah.
And then here's what actually got me about the episode. It wasn't like I had no problem with those kids. They were very scary children, honestly. They all were terrifying to me. Again, I've read The Lord of the Flies. And I've interacted with children.
That's
A lot. And but there would be like at one point Joel was like, why don't they stun them? Why are they stunning any of these children? Why are they just standing around? Like, obviously, it's not affecting him. Why is he just like, get out of here? Stun the children. Why is he fucking stunning the children? And it was like, what started to happen in the episode that really grated on me was I'd just be like, why are we doing nothing? Are we arguing with a child? Why are we doing literally nothing for, like,
it's easy to clown on kid acting. It's easy to clown on them bringing in a criminal defense attorney as the actor. The fundamental sin of this episode is that it comes to a screeching halt and turns all of the characters into complete dummies.
Morons. Absolute morons. They're in that scene when they're like, so the kids do that thing where they go, bah, 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 but they're like, they like do their fist 3 times. Take some time. You could stop them if you want.
Yeah.
Wow. And because this Gorgon guy has ghost guy or whatever the fuck he is, has given them this ability, this kind of like psychic powers. They are stuck on that bridge where like everyone's like seeing shit and things are happening for a solid like 7 minutes.
And it's dead. The scene is dead. It's dead.
What is going on?
They repeat the same thing, and these characters are supposed to be extremely smart.
Yeah.
At worst, extremely competent.
Yeah.
It's been established that the Enterprise is kind of the best of the best.
Yeah.
And so Sulu is just sitting there at the behest of a child, bopping their fist 3 times and looking at a screen, and daggers are coming at him.
It's great.
Is Sulu not competent enough to be like, this is clearly an illusion? It brings up so many more questions, and I don't like to poke at plot holes, but whenever it gets in the way of the emotional logic of the thing,
exactly,
and the emotional logic comes to a complete standstill,
yes,
then there's a fundamental problem with your story.
Right, exactly. Like the problem here is that it had a cool idea, and then I see not only is it like interfering with emotional resonance or relationships, it is making people act out of character. Yes. And I hate that. Like if there's one thing, if I start reading a fanfic, Kenny, doesn't matter if it's my favorite ship. If those people are acting, if they're OOC, as we like to call it, I can't do it.
Yes.
And this episode is just a bunch of people strongly OOC.
Out of character. In reading These Are the Voyages, TOS Season 3 by Mark Cushman, it was one of because they send each script to an agency to get like science checked. To Kellum DeForest Agency. And this woman, I forget what her name is. It might be Judy Crosby.
Just the lady.
Goes through each script and is just like, no, you're using parsecs wrong. It actually needs to be light years. she goes through each one of these things. And not Joan Pierce is her name.
Ooh.
And one of the things is that whenever Spock and Kirk watching the tape of the parents, because we get a hashtag dead parents video.
Oh, I will say that scene, good.
But then in one of the scripts, because there are multiple scripts, surprise, surprise, Spock smiles.
No.
Joan Pierce is like, no.
No.
She writes, never. Would you believe almost never, especially in light of the seriousness of the situation and the material they are viewing?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's I guess that's like why you have things like that, right? Like if someone's coming in and you've got various writers, it's the first time they're writing an episode.
It's actually it wasn't various writers. It's here like 2 writers and then with various producers and other studio want. The initial script. Here we go.
Well, no, I mean various writers on
sure.
across episodes.
Yeah.
It's not like one person is writing every single episode.
Yeah, what is this? The first 4 seasons of The West Wing?
Yeah, right. In this case, no Sorkin here.
Babylon 5, which is a close cousin to Star Trek. And
The West Wing. Could you believe it?
Yeah, but J. Michael Straczynski seems to be more chill. A little bit more chill.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not surprised. There should be someone. It's like almost like your continuity expert on like the visuals. It should be like continuity on things, like make sure that we're not saying the wrong thing. I mean, again, I already made my fan fiction joke, but I'm serious about that. Like, you get 15 seasons of Supernatural, for instance. Again, a show that maybe we should also have a podcast about. 15 seasons.
Would we do Supernatural against a different show?
No, it's just Supernatural. Yeah. Have you ever seen Supernatural? I've asked you that a billion times.
No, but I watched Buffy.
Okay, but see, that's what it would be. I'd be like, someone who used to be like a Supernatural like super fan. You're like, I've never seen this before. Yeah. We should do it. I know. At a certain point, like you have so many episodes of a thing. Mm-hmm. And there's stuff that might have happened like in season 2, right? And you have someone like me who's a freak. And I'm watching something in season 13 and I see someone do something and I'm like, Dean would never do that. And in fact, in season 3, episode 5, he says he would never do that. Mm-hmm. Like you have people like that, right? Yeah. So I feel like that's just kind of bound to happen.
It's so interesting watching the behind the scenes of other subsequent Star Trek stuff. And I'm watching folks like Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga and Rick Berman and all of these highfalutin people that were there writing the best Star Trek. And they're like, oh gosh, it's something like, what was that episode where Picard was abducted by the Borg? And someone's like, I think it was the best of both worlds. And meanwhile, I'm over here as the fan being like, the best episode of Star Trek. But like they're so involved with production, this stuff just kind of slips their mind because there's 29 episodes, 26 episodes, 24 episodes that they just have to get out.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, but also it does feel like a little bit of a betrayal. It's like at this point, we know Spock does not smile. Yes. And so it feels a bit to me like you don't understand the characters you're writing from a fundamental perspective in terms of their like what they like, what they care about, what their perspective on the world is.
Yeah. And this is because Roddenberry's kind of checked out.
Sure.
Here, he's giving notes to make things more difficult, it seems, but not being a loving guiding hand. Or doing the work himself.
Was he ever a loving hand? Unless it was with the ladies, am I right?
maybe this is just my blind adherence to Gene Roddenberry because like the man is somewhat part of my family in my mind. Star Trek has always been my parasocial relationship with Star Trek. It's always been the 4th family member in my only child family. It's always been there. It's never asked anything of me that is unkind except for Star Trek Into Darkness, and even that I was just like, I know that you've hurt me, but I still forgive you. I'll bite you.
Oh boy. Oh no.
I know, right?
You okay?
No, I'm not okay. Roddenberry is many things. He's also when it comes to there are these moments of sincerity, but it's probably fueled by ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
How interesting. Anyways,
yeah.
Basically this episode got wrecked because it was trying to serve too many masters.
Get wrecked.
This was a script that was commissioned by Roddenberry before he kind of pieced out a little bit more.
When you say it was commissioned, like, you mean he was like, I want a story about, the children who are ensorcelled.
I believe this writer, who was an established TV writer, Edward J. Laxo, written a bunch of TV by this point, interviewed for the position of rewrite guy, kind of the DC Fontana role that Arthur Singer wouldn't fulfill.
Dorothy.
Doesn't get that, but Gene likes him so much, gives him an assignment. Did he pitch this in the room? Yes, Laxo pitched this idea. Gene was like, go write it. And he wrote it. And apparently the first draft was pretty good. Much darker than what we got. The kids, instead of singing Ring Around the Rosie, they were just cowering in fear because they were like, and they were dealing with the pure embodiment of evil. And then kind of like The Naked Time, that fear, that embodiment of evil would then be used to reveal the deepest fears of the crew. And the kids are kind of ancillary a little bit. But it's a character-based episode where you're watching the biggest fear. Kirk becoming incompetent at command, Spock losing control, Uhura getting old.
I was like, man. Then she did say, like, it's my death. And I was like, okay, that's a little better. The fear of death is a little better than I'm old and ugly.
Yeah. But then the network's like, can we lighten this up? And so now the kids are singing Ring Around the Rosie, and then Fred Freiberger is like, what if the kids can do mind control too? Because Gene Roddenberry was like, the script isn't necessarily working. We need some work on this. And Fred Freiberger interpreted that as, you're right. We need to
Magic
have the
kids.
kids do mind control, which no one said. And it became this convoluted mess.
He's like,
and then Fred Freiberger was the one who was like, what if we cast that criminal defense attorney as kind of a ratings gimmick?
Okay, can I ask you a serious cue?
Yeah, always.
Okay. The kids creeping around doing their little fist stuff, actually pretty spooky. Would have loved it if it had been even scarier. If it had been about their actual, like, deepest, darkest fears.
If they didn't do it 40 times in the episode.
If it hadn't been over and over and over again. Over again so many times. Every time that dude showed up, I was like, what the fuck are you? I don't understand. So here's my cue for you. At one point, I think Spock says something like, the children were possessed or something. And I'm like, they're not, like, okay, is it the word possessed that we're using? Because I would think that that's like ghost possession. I was just thinking that they were led astray by him. Which is pretty intense considering they like helped to kill their parents, being given, like, told to let astray. So I guess, what do you think possession means in this situation?
I think they were led astray. I think.
Yeah. You don't. So
I would say led astray.
Led astray. So it's almost like because I feel like if that's the case, boy howdy, those kids suck.
They do suck. But
like,
also, it's an episode that operates on the level of, this is happening because it has to happen, because this thing,
because it has to happen,
has to get in the way.
I do like the ensorcellery idea, that it's like a little bit more than led astray, but less than possessed. That they're like, he did truly trick them.
Yeah.
Like showed them things, promised them things, like kind of like used his own sort of mind control-y type whatever. But still, the idea of him being like the embodiment of evil is like so vague. It's so weird. I truly was like, I don't understand what's going on, and I like to think I'm smart.
You are smart.
Thank you so much. I like to think I am, and I was just like, I don't know, my dudes. What is this?
The episode, because Star Trek likes to operate in thematics. We've talked about.
Yes, while Star Wars likes to operate in thematics. So much heat.
Star Wars is thematics through action.
Yes.
As you beautifully demonstrated with the Return of the Jedi episode.
Oh my God,
and talking about Return of the Jedi.
Thank you for bringing that up all the time and talking about how smart I am. Thank you.
It's really smart.
That's nice. You're nice.
It's a fabulous read. And this episode is almost about showing children, because also another mandate from on high is they were like, teenagers, kids watch this show. Let's make kid friendly.
This is real kid friendly. Kill your parents. Why they
cast criminal defense lawyer Melvin Belli. Nothing that kids love more. But there is almost a story about how you must feel grief, even in the worst of times. It's not
True.
really. It's not really. It's making allusions to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost saying that. Because there's something there about these kids avoiding things through. There's something there about a strong man being like, I can give you power. You don't have to mourn. You can control these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Just do what I want you to do, and you will be good. And there's something about being led astray through feelings of strength and power and control instead of what you need, which is grief for the loss.
Yes. I really like that read.
It's barely there.
No, but I mean, it's not well written. It's not clear, but you're right that there is a strong theme. I mean, it's explicitly said by McCoy too, like they cannot grieve because they have this trauma amnesia, I think.
Yeah.
And it is deeply important for them to engage with this and be present with it. And when they do show the video of them playing with their parents,
#dead parent video. Love it.
And then the parents dead. Those are some good child criers. I just want you to know. That little girl, I was like, I think that kid is really crying.
Yeah.
That little girl. Very sweet.
Yeah.
Very cute.
Yes.
Horrifying and then very cute. Very sweet. Wanting to be picked up by Kirk. It was like, oh, baby
all
girl. I know. Baby girl.
Girl.
And yeah, that kind of like acknowledgement of the grief, which is then funny because then they're just like, so now we're going to drop them off where they'll be, I suppose, adopted, maybe, since their parents are dead. Yeah.
You know who's not dead? Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme. At least not
yet. Not yet. Not yet. But you know who is dead? All those droids on the Malevolence.
That's right.
Because they bring back an important thing about hyperspace travel, which is that you have to make calculations, and those calculations have to be good, because if you were wrong on them, you could end up in the middle of a mountain. Who knows, right? We have to be very careful. And so they get part of it is that they get the hyperdrive back online for the Malevolence to get out of there. But Anakin goes in a great fun scene where I feel like for people who haven't seen it, it's just wonderful because it is like physical comedy and like beautiful fast action at its like best, because they come into the space where the hyperdrive whoops, I keep hitting my microphone. Just like, they come into the space where like all the controls are. There's a bunch of droids in there. He pushes Padme out so she's safe, like out of the door again. It closes, and he just slices up the droids, and then the door just opens. So she just like walks in, like, oh, okay, and he's just like, could you clean this up? And so she has to like drag.
She
away.
does clean it up.
It's so funny. And what he does is he calculates it so that when they do go into hyperdrive, it puts them into the moon. And I thought that was clever. So that was just a nice time for everybody. So they're not dead, but those droids and that massive ass ship sure are. Sure are.
Is this episode saying anything politically about the state of the world, or is it worried about just being a rip-roaring adventure?
I think that it is a rip-roaring adventure that is very focused on emotional relationships. I think that this episode is doing a lot for the Padme-Anakin relationship. It is imbued throughout it in a very strong way. The moment that they realize that it's her ship that's been captured, and she's like, no, keep firing. Don't worry about me. And Anakin's literally just like, absolutely the fuck not. We were watching and I was like, hey, do you have a thing with Padme? like, is anyone like walking like, why is he being so weird about Padme? But yeah, so that, like, all the actions that they take, like that, like she has that line, you know, when he does get to her and they're on all those trains, which Dave Filoni's brother loves. And she's like, the things you do to get me alone. And I'm just like, look at you. They're just having great, fun exchanges. And I just think it does a lot for that relationship to just like show them as equals. And so perhaps it's not saying anything politically at this point, but it is doing a lot.
Anakin disobeys orders.
Yes, as always.
Or not disobeys order, but is given a choice. Either go save Padme or do this other thing. The other thing I forget, but it's for the better of the collective versus the individualist choice, which is you got to save the senator. But really, it's to save Padme.
Right. It's to save Padme. Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, she's the one who's like, forget about me. Like, you've got this mission. Like, oh, and he's like, nope, I'm going to choose to save you. He does make the individualist choice. It's because he is, deeply in love with Padme. It almost makes you wonder if maybe the weird faux Jedi misunderstanding of like letting go or lack of attachment is actually stupid. Because I know it's an individualist choice. I mean, I don't think necessarily we should be like, just because it works out doesn't mean it is the right choice. Like, as Spock might say, you know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. He's probably very lucky that it worked out for him.
Yeah.
But also that, you know, I think Star Wars is a story. I mean, I think you have argued.
Star Wars is a story. You're right.
Star Wars is a story. I think you know, going back hours and hours and hours of watching, you argued that Star Wars is an individualistic story, whereas Star Trek is a ultimately a kind of a community. It's about the collective type stories. I argued that, yeah, sometimes, but ultimately it is about what we can do and be together.
You've demonstrated that it's a whole bunch of individuals that are working in tandem
and
for collective victory, and then also just the larger text of Star Wars has demonstrated that we get stuck in these loops as well. Not to just press a sound effect, but Georgie said
again, it's like poetry. So if they rhyme,
I mean, yeah,
which it makes sense that Filoni would be purposely trying to mirror aesthetics of Star Wars, not just in terms of trying to repilot and get those things, but from a thematic level, having these folks behave like a good old fashioned what our societal brain interprets as the feeling of Star Wars. And Filoni's able to capture that feeling and is just trying to demonstrate through action.
Yeah.
That we're still stuck in these gosh darn Star Wars. Now, is that a conscious choice? I don't think so. But thematically, you might be able to interpret that because they're feeling a lot like Han, Luke, and Leia in the Death Star right here.
They really do. Like, It feels very strongly. It's like, yeah, he's a rascal. He's like a rascal with a heart of gold. He's a scruffy looking nerf herder. Like, that's Anakin right now. Like, you can map them, and she has the same kind of like chutzpah as Leia. And she always did. She just never got the opportunity and the characterization to do so. And she gets to be this throughout Clone Wars, and it is thrilling. She is interesting. She is fun. She is brave. Like, it's very cool, and there's a lot of dynamism. I mean, right now we're a place-setting character relationship. We're almost like rebooting it to be like, we got you. This is good. These are it does remind you of old Star Wars, but these are different characters. Like, they are different people.
It's kind of like Star Trek: The Next Generation in terms of this is the same but different.
Right. And it's going to become even more than it is right now. Like, it gets to go in different directions. Right now, politically, I think we're still like, we're going to get into more complexity of what this war means for different people.
Yeah.
I think
right now it's just destroy the bad guy, which is a very simple story.
The most we've had is that first episode with the Toydarians, of like, what does it mean to have these people who are technically not part of, they're neither separatist nor republic, and we're trying to get them on our side. What does that look like? And we had like the identity of like the clones as humans, as people. In this, it is more, this arc itself has been more of big ship, go boom, kill people, and it's we have to fight and save. And that's been so it's less politically charged, more around that action and characterization, I'd say. The end. I answered your question.
Is that really the end, though?
It's never the end. Not for you. In this bit.
What bit?
It's like, I'm going to be like, what are you talking about?
What bit?
And I'm just going to wait for you to answer me.
A long time ago, start date this week, I courted a beau, I dated a geek, but none of them could warp my drive into hyperspace. The best of both worlds kept me in second place. Captain's log on a holocron, I wanted a snog, I penned a song, 17 more minutes of thighs in super high def. Aboard the USS Enterprise, DTF. Don't you take my Ewok glider and clip it. Don't you take my red shirt buddy and nip it. If you spill the tea, I'm gonna sip it. I starship it.
Aspen, what are we doing?
We are going to name our favorite starships or vehicles that could fly through the sky, or perhaps are inside things and themselves moving. I'm setting this up for a specific reason, but usually starships that fly through the stars.
Interesting.
And our favorite ships for romance, which is going to be super easy when we have some episodes with children.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Since you were so desperate to go first last week, so you could claim Y-Wings, I'm going to go first this week. And I'm going to pick Padme's red spaceship.
It's great.
I don't know exactly what it's called. I just know that it's influenced by Buck Rogers so much.
So much.
It looks like the episode 1 Queen ship, but
smaller.
Kind of smaller. Looks like a rocket ship. It looks like a classic rocket ship.
It's so
looks like a classic rocket ship, and it's sick.
It's so good. She blows it up too. Yeah,
which
Very
is why
clever.
she has a different ship in episode 3. I'm assuming. Right?
It's fair. I mean, I assume that there are just like a bunch of Naboo starships.
Yeah.
Like royal ships that she can just be like, I'm going to take this one. Like her own little private jet.
Yeah. That's right.
Her PJ is like, thank you. I'll go blow this one up to save our lives.
Speaking of saving our lives, Aspen, what is your starship?
Okay, so again, it is not a ship necessarily going through the sky, but it is the Railjet. So
The choo-choo trains?
the choo-choo trains.
Yes, of course those count. What are you talking about?
As we know, by the way, Grievous has a funny history with trains.
He does. Thank you, Gandhi.
Thank you,
stand
Kente.
legend.
Thank you for the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. But the Malevolence is like a mile long. This ship is huge, longer probably. So the idea being that it's how do you get from one side of it to the other quickly? You're not just going to.
You need some sort of infrastructure for the, I don't know, almost kind of inside metropolis.
Yes.
That is the Malevolence. And there's got to be like certain quadrants that function like, I don't know, business buildings or certain kind of aspects. You could say Aspen.
Uh-huh. The whole ship.
The whole ship
It's one big
is
city.
one big city.
You asshole. Yeah. It's got a better metro system than most American cities. Let me tell you about that.
That's true. Unless you have a cape, in which case it could be problematic.
Could be problematic. So good. Again, so apparently, according to Dave, the layout department, I don't even know what the layout department would be in this case.
Well, they lay out.
They just like get some sun. They were the ones who were like kind of just given like, hey, you know what, go wild. Like there's gonna be some trains in here. Let's see what it looks like. And they were like, you want some trains? We're gonna give you some trains. And they ended up doing like layers of them. And apparently in their like initial works, it was just like it didn't make sense conceptually to be able to fit inside of this ship. So they had to scale it down a little bit more. But then, yeah, there's just like trains going everywhere. It's like they're jumping across and all around them. C-3PO is like getting hit by them. No one ever seems to care. They're like, oh, I guess we'll go find 3PO. I got like smashed by a train. It's funny too. It makes for like great physical comedy.
It does what they tried to do in episode 2.
Yes.
So much better.
It is the droid factory, but billions of times better. It's consistent. It's funny. It's a little dangerous. People are not stupid. But then it does get to have like dumb little bits, like when Grievous like gets off one of the trains, there's like a voiceover that's like, mind the gap. Which is like dumb. Like I think like I'm like, this is like the best kind of dumb. Like it fits in this. So and that was apparently a request in another Matt Wood voiceover.
I like that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's mine. I love those trains. And so does Dave Filoni's brother.
Give his name. Give his name.
I don't know.
I'm not sure that he exists.
I don't know.
You know what does exist though? I'm shipping Mary and Captain Kirk.
Who's Mary?
Mary is the little child that was always getting picked up by Captain Kirk. And here's why. Pamela Ferdin played Mary.
Okay.
And she had she was the original voice of Lucy on the Peanuts animated television special. And B, she had a big honking crush on William Shatner on the set. And was just like, this is activating stuff in me. She was just like, he's so dreamy. And Shatner at the end of the shoot, was always just like friendly and stuff to the kids, apparently. Reading their testimony, they're just like, yeah, Shatner and Nimoy were great. They were always super friendly. They talked to us like professionals. And then at the end of the shoot, Shatner comes along and gives Pamela this little cigar ring and is just like, will you marry me? And she's like, yes, whenever I graduate from high school, yes, I'll marry you. She was like 7 at the time. And I just think that's really lovely and wonderful and cute and stuff. The end.
Okay. That's nice.
Oh, you disagree?
I don't like that.
You don't like that?
I don't like that at all.
You don't like that the little actress had a little crush on William Shatner?
I think that's fine. I think that's very sweet. I'm not gonna ship them. You do you, boo. I mean,
Look,
as someone,
there's slim pickings. All right, Aspen.
oh, I know.
What do you want from me?
I don't think I even have. Like, I'm like thinking
Sorry,
about.
I incorporated a charming real life story from one of the child actresses who was just like, look, I didn't like being a child actor, but here's one bright spot. All right.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It's very sweet.
I think the audience likes it, right, audience? Yeah, listen to that. They love it.
Okay.
They love my story, Aspen.
McConkey.
Except for that one guy. He didn't like it.
No, I mean, I think on a lot of levels it's nice. It's giving me the squicks. The will you marry me thing is giving me the squicks.
Here's the 60s.
As someone, when I was that age in the 90s, I had fucking older men doing shit like that to me. So I don't know. I don't really like, but sounds like it was a protected environment and she was very well
she
treated.
remembers it fondly, but I don't want
so
to
there you go.
Experience.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying that's why it's given me the little internal squicks. But also I've named ships that I was myself squicked by, but I named them anyway.
Sure.
That's the beauty of the thing. No,
Sure.
it's a sweet story. You're right, because otherwise, what other ships are there?
What other ships are there
that we haven't named already? Because we've done Anakin and Padme's, we've done C-3PO and R2D2, which is nice to see them together. We could always do R2D2 and the ship every time he inserts something in and returns it. At this point, it's like everybody on the Enterprise is
one of your ships from the Ultimate Computer versus Clone Wars Volume 2 is Main Funky Warrior and Lady Alien.
What?
That's a little vague.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I got it here on the spreadsheet.
Oh boy.
Past ships also include Urga and Gornish for Aspen, Latara and Tebow, Droid and Tebow, McCoy and that one gangster, Uhura and her multi-tool.
That's really funny. I clearly at a certain point I started trying to be more serious about it.
We also got Larry and the Community. Remember Larry from Ewoks?
We love Larry.
Who's just like, hi, I'm Larry. What's up?
Okay, well, we're about to play that kind of game here where we do a little bit of we're going to do the thing that people hate, which is go for an idea in someone. I'm going to go for Uhura.
Here we go.
And self-love.
Here we go.
Yeah. Listen, Uhura, let's talk about it for a second. Come here. We're all going to die.
Come here.
We're all going to die.
Yep.
We're all going to get old. We're going to get wrinkles. Our bones are going to start feeling a little bit more tired.
Mm-hmm.
Our skin's going to get a little bit crinkly. It's going to be harder to do stuff. Mm-hmm. We're going to, it's like at a certain point, it's going to be like, can I really ski every day? Could I ski to? No, because I could never ski to start. I've never learned.
Ski every day.
I've never learned. We'll get to that point. And it is hard. It's scary. It's so scary. People will say things and they'll just be like, it is a privilege to grow old. And I'm like, 100%. I'm also terrified of it. I'm terrified of dying. So I hear you. And you know what? That's okay. And right now,
just not dying?
I hadn't until now.
Just don't do it.
Just try not to. Just try not to die.
Yeah.
I do think that the more that we treat death as it's like an old friend, a sort of inevitability of this is the world and this is part of it, and we can have all the feelings we need to have about it, then I think we're all going to be a lot better. And just know that our worth is in more than our beauty, because beauty is something that can look different the older we get. Anyway, just want to say that, Uhura, I love you so much. I ship you and your self-worth. Thank you so much.
Speaking of beautiful, this is a beautiful transition into the main conceit of our podcast. Which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars? As we finally go and rank Both of these episodes, again, and The Children Shall Lead from Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, versus Destroy Malevolence from Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Season 1. I will go first with the rankings, because I feel like that's right. And I'm going to give And the Children Shall Lead a robust 4.
Oh.
This episode is just boring as heck. It is dull. It is so difficult to pay attention. The action is so repetitive. The characters are so stupid.
Weird.
Just bereft of an intelligence that has been present in early episodes, and I'm wondering where the heck did it go? I want to see my characters that I know are smart be smart. It's a hard episode to watch. That's why I give it a 4. Aspen.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to watch it again.
What would it take for you to watch this again?
I don't know. You gave me some money.
How much?
Maybe like $10.
All right. Would you want to give your Venmo out, please?
Yeah, it's just Aspen.Webster.
All right. There's the challenge, listeners. If you send Aspen $10, they will rewatch And the Children Shall Lead.
Oh boy. Hope no one requests money of me. Let's see. 3.8.
3.8.
My brain was going for like in the 3s, but I was like, it's not a low 3, it's not a mid 3, it's an upper 3 for sure. The times I've given things at this low is often because I hated them. I don't hate this episode. I just genuinely think it's not good.
I would rather hate an episode versus just kind of be largely indifferent.
Right.
But by an episode. I will forget that I have watched this episode.
Yeah.
At some point.
It's exactly like I'd rather feel a lot of feelings about something than just be like, oh boy.
Speaking of feelings about episodes, Destroy Malevolence. I'm going to give this one a 6.
Oh, really?
For some reason, I was just like, I'm kind of bored by this.
Oh.
I think it's doing what it's doing quite well. I just wasn't feeling it though. And I can't put my finger quite on it. I was just like, I'm ready for this arc to be over and move on. I think.
Maybe Aaron's right. Maybe we should be watching them.
Sure.
That's one arc. Because I wonder, like, what it would look like as on the whole. Mm-hmm. Interesting that you say that. I do not feel that way.
Great.
I'm gonna give it a 7.3.
7.3.
No, okay. It's hard because it is. What did I give the other two?
7.9 for Rising Malevolence, Shadow Malevolence. 7.6.
Oh, okay. This is okay. Let's give it 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's coming to the end of the arc. It's a good, strong end of the arc. I think that 7.9 probably sounds like I was just like fucking having a great time, and I'm still having a great time. And it's a closeout. I love having Padme there. I think it is a solid episode. Great time all around. Fun, interesting conclusion to the thing. Yeah, and I guess, if you were to take those together as a whole, the arc is, to me, very much high 7s. It's great.
And that was a 7.5?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yep.
Which, stand by
for math.
Which means that Destroy Malevolence is at a robust 6.75 versus And the Children Shall Lead paltry 3.9, which means, Aspen,
I'm a winner.
You're a winner.
I'm a winner, baby. That's right. Yes, dude. I feel so good.
Not only that.
Yeah.
But Aspen?
Yeah?
The war is turning in your favor, as today, for the first time, the overall average of better Star Wars to Star Trek has finally tilted in Star Wars' favor. Over all of the episodes that we have done, averaging out to a 6.34 versus Star Trek's 6.28. Aspen.
That's right. That's right. I feel great. Thank you for asking. I'd like to thank God. No one else.
It's outstanding. I love paying attention to the math of all of this thing because all of this stuff is completely subjective.
It's not real.
It's not real, but also we've had this conversation of being like, there's more good Star Trek than Star Wars, and right now, so far in the numbers, both of you and me are watching this, and the numbers don't lie. Star Wars is doing a little better than Star Trek right now, and that's pretty fun.
I mean, yeah, is there more good Star Trek than Star Wars? We're about to have, 6 seasons, then later we'll do 7 seasons of exceptional Star Wars. And then 4 seasons of exceptional Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
We're in a good run, and Star Trek is going to be bouncing all over the place. But hopefully our listeners will be bouncing over to our Patreon, patreon.com/TrekWarsPod, where you can get early versions of these episodes, extended versions of these episodes. Additionally, follow us on social media, instagram.com/TrekWarsPod, also Blue Sky, and our YouTube channel, which just checking the show notes below, because it's still kind of hard to kind of find our YouTube channel because we're just starting it out. Additionally, if you don't want to do any of those things, you could be like Austin Aaron at the beginning of this episode and reach us at trekwarspod@gmail.com. Send in literally any old business and we will read it on the air. We love reading stuff and we love interacting with you. Aspen, I freaking love you so much, and I love getting to talk with you every single week.
I love you. Thank you for curing my COVID.
I think you need to thank Austin Aaron for sending that one Jedi over from Mon Calamari.
Yeah, that also, she healed me. Thank you so much to everybody who healed me.
She did. And to all of our listeners from both myself and Aspen, may the Force be with you, and live long and prosper.